What are any of us trying to do? I think that was one of the themes. In Mariner's story this season.
Yeah, it kind of was, right? Yeah. No, I didn't. I mean, I watched all the Lower Deck stuff so long ago at this point that I would need to be talked through the episodes anyway, because I don't remember half of them. But
okay,
I have the page open and I'm looking at them, but I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that episode, but like I couldn't tell you anything direct,
Yeah, well, it's been that kind of year. So hello and welcome to the what did we call it? Subspace Transmissions, a blast from the past. Have we done one this year? Hi, JJ.
Hey, Andy. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. It's been a while. Yeah.
You've got your LaCroix. I've got my nice steaming mug of coffee, and we're together on a Friday morning. I think at this point you are now out for the year. I think we're doing our things of the year next year, right?
I think you get one more Monday from me.
Oh, we've got Hanukkah, and then maybe one more Monday. Okay, sweet. Well, one of these two episodes we're recording this morning is up now. Yay! Right. And we're here to talk about Star Trek in our subspace transmissions. JJ, I watched all of Lower Decks season 4. I have not caught up on a lot of other things, but I got caught up on that. I'm on the Paramount on Black Friday $3 a month deal. I think you get 3 months or something like that. This like advertising. I guess we're already advertising since we talk about their Star Trek thing. I don't care how you get it. I'm just saying. I'm gonna watch things in batches probably for a while. Like in monthly batches of I got a deal for that. And it's starting to get to the point with streaming. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I now have enough on each service where I can go away and come back and then just watch a full season.
Yeah, it's pretty much that way. There's several shows I want to watch on Disney that I haven't gotten through. I think maybe the only one that doesn't have something I would want to watch like a whole season of is Netflix. I'm trying to think. Hulu, there's stuff I would watch. Paramount has stuff I would watch.
HBO, I guess maybe not right now.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything on HBO right now. There is older stuff that I haven't watched, but like the list on HBO is like a bunch of really old stuff that's like, these are like classics. I should watch these. And then it's like, that's never happening.
Well, that's becoming everybody's. It's becoming kind of everybody's shtick is like find either a niche genre to carry. So like, I think HBO has Studio Ghibli, although they're on Disney Plus now, so it doesn't matter. And then like they have Kurosawa and like a whole bunch of Criterion level stuff. And then
is all that stuff on there? I didn't know.
Not everything, but they have some of it. They have a decent amount of Kurosawa on there. And then, like movies from 3 to 10 years ago. I think they have a full James Bond collection. I don't know. It's becoming, everyone's trying to aggregate what they can of stuff that is licensable. Right. And then everyone keeps their own newer stuff for a certain amount of time on each service, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel we're very quickly ending right back up where we were with cable TV. And like it has amazed me how fast it has gone, right? Because like maybe 5 years ago, all the streaming things were still offering deals, and you could get like promotions and stuff.
Well,
That has all stopped. All
only
of them
one
are
of
now
them
raising
was
prices.
only one of them was successful 5 years ago.
I don't know that. If you ask their bosses, I don't know that any of them are successful. So
I don't know. Reed Hastings isn't the boss anymore, I guess, but I think he would tell you they were successful at Netflix.
you're probably right. I mean, Netflix is the one that its only business is that, right? All the other ones have other media stuff going
Mm-hmm.
on with them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Remember
all
when
of
all
them are
these
now raising
companies were like,
prices. All of them are not offering deals anymore. All of them
yeah.
are like, cracking down and doing all kinds of stuff. And
I don't know how many people that listen to this would know this, but like for a very long time, a lot of these companies were owned by not media conglomerations like they are today, but like cell phone and telecom megacorps owned most of the media distribution, which is why you had the TV problem of like they don't want to get them off TV because they have
Yep.
the cable services, right? Like
Yep.
Time Warner Cable owned, what was it? It was like Discovery and all those
did they own
things.
Viacom?
They owned Viacom, and Viacom
Which
owned,
then owned a bunch of those
yeah.
things. Yeah.
It's insane the roads that these places have gone down on buying and selling media property and where they are
Yep.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Some might argue that this is a bad for the free market. And, but couldn't be our country though. Our country wouldn't do that.
well, we just read yesterday in the paper the FTC can't even make the argument about how to keep these companies from piling up.
Well, it's like what? Yeah, I don't know. We're not going to talk about the newspaper, Andrew. That's like boomer stuff. Okay, we're already old enough. We're dating ourselves hard enough by talking about Star Trek.
I hate to tell you, yeah. you jumped me so hard there. You jumped me so hard. I was gonna say that we're gonna date ourselves by liking Star Trek.
Oh yeah. We know. Look, I know, right? I'm the guy who has the mug at work that looks like the L cars and heats up and says tea Earl Grey hot.
I mean, I have that at home. I just don't have an office to go to.
And you can tell like 98% of my coworkers don't know what it's referencing. And then like some old people walk by, they're like, "Ah, cool." And you're like, "Yeah."
You're like, I need to hang out with you, but you're older than me.
Those are my people. The 60-year-olds that I work with.
I'm the guy. This episode is gonna be called "I'm the Guy," but I'm the guy that has decided that I need to really cull my collectibles and all that sort of stuff recently, and we've talked about that on multiple things. But I'm not getting rid of everything, and in fact, I just added to my collection. I'm kind of curating a cabinet of "This Is Me," right? And in the cabinet of "This Is Me" is now not every, but every one that I care about. Badge Delta from shows. So
that's cool.
The new one from Strange New Worlds, the Command one, the TNG one, Voyager DS9 one, the Wrath of Khan gigantic, like the movies from the Monster Maroon uniforms. All magnetic, so I want to get like a metal board to put them in so they can all stand up. And I bought a while ago, like last year on Black Friday. I buy all this stuff on Black Friday, by the way. Last year on Black Friday, I got the Bluetooth flip open TOS communicator.
The communicator?
Can hook up to your phone, which is like prop level quality. So that's in the case next to them. So you have all the deltas next to that, right? Sweet. And that's just the like little area of like, look, I can't have everything Star Trek, but these things are memento enough to show what is really a deep part of personality, right? I don't know.
No, I think it, yeah.
And they look so cool on a shelf. All the deltas lined up. I turned around to stare at it. I don't know if that made good audio because I was turned around, but
yeah, they are such cool props and they're so iconic looking,
Yeah, and these
that
ones,
it's cool to be able to look at them because of
plus,
like their design and stuff.
yeah, I mean the design's crazy. I did not get the one from Picard because I think that one
That's
looks kind of silly, and
I'm
I haven't watched season
nodding.
3, but I'm not in love with the show so much. And then
Yeah.
I didn't intend to get the ones from Discovery, um, but I got them by accident. They sent the wrong ones. They replaced them. I guess I should say Fansets is the company I went with. The one that they're a huge pin making company. I don't know if you know them, but
Okay.
uh, they replaced them like immediately. I sent them a picture and they're like, "Oops, here's some more." So
Well, that's good of them.
I ended up with the Discovery one and the Section 31 from Discovery one, which actually I like the Section 31 one quite a bit. And they
So hold
had
on though, if they ever release that Section 31 show, maybe you'll feel differently if the show ends up being bad.
look,
You know.
Michelle Yeoh's gonna be in it. It doesn't matter.
I
Be
you
brave,
know,
man. Be
they
brave.
said Michelle Yeoh was in Discovery and then we saw where that ended, right? So,
That every episode she was in was fun, and then the
yeah.
episode she wasn't in,
And she wasn't in the vast majority of the show.
that's sure fine. I wonder if they'll end up retconning that into a movie instead of a show, but we'll see. She seems like
It
a
could
very
happen.
busy woman.
Yeah, she does.
Whatever. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Oh, there was a point in me telling you all this about the deltas. One of the things they added literally just as Black Friday launched was Lower Decks Delta.
In that it looks like the cartoon show.
So they've had one for a while, and it's literally just the gray cartoon one. It's like gray, and it's not metal. It is metal, but it's not metallic looking like the other ones, right? It's like sprayed flat gray.
Which is kind of what it looks like in the show.
Yeah. But just before Black Friday, and I was very happy to add this to my order, they added the live action one.
Oh yeah, from that weird episode.
From that weird episode, which we're going to talk about today. I don't know. I hope you watched it.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
watched all the episodes.
Yeah. Where it is slightly different. They took the Delta from the show and they were like, hey, there's like a black outline around that Delta. What if that was actually on the Delta to make it look like it stands out from the uniform a little better? What if it was metallic like it was in the crossover? What if, and so I grabbed that one instead of the one that's all sprayed and cartoony looking, which is
That's cool.
Which is why I did not buy the Prodigy one, because it's like sprayed gold and weird and cartoony looking. But they have them for every show. I like Prodigy, but I just didn't like the Prodigy Delta that much. And plus, people in Prodigy, only the people on the ship wear that Delta, and everybody else is wearing other Starfleet Deltas. So
cool.
I've said Delta too many times, but the point of that story,
Delta.
the point of that story was Lower Decks. It was connected to this.
Lower Decks season 4, man. I think people will definitely remember we talked about highly about the other Lower Decks seasons.
1 through 3 were fantastic.
Bangers, you could say.
Yeah. And they started off strong in season 4 as well. I don't know if we ever released the season 3 discussion or if it got lost in the void. I have a bad feeling it got lost in the void of Oopsie. There was a few episodes we lost a while ago. I think we did release it. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about season 4. Right off the bat, they hit you with, in the first episode, the we can't talk about Captain Pike thing. So we had to pause, and I had to go, so my spouse was watching with me. She always watches Lower Decks. Doesn't get most of the references, which is actually really funny. When I was just about
to ask how someone that doesn't get all the references likes this show, because half the fun of this show to me is the references.
Loves it.
So that's interesting that it also works on that level.
Well, so the big TNG names, which they reference a lot, she gets, right, because she watched TNG. And it's nostalgic enough, and like the alien races are familiar enough, like the Ferengi and Klingons and all those
Sure, yeah.
things that like. And the story, right? The story, except for maybe the finale this season with Nick Locarno. Uh, did we need to do a spoiler warning before we start talking about this show?
I don't know. Look, spoilers for the entire season 4 of Lower Decks for the whole
Yeah,
podcast. Here we go.
yeah. There you go. Stuff like, oh, who's Nick Locarno doesn't really matter to her, right? Because they like,
Right. Well, and the
they
show
explained it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you don't need to know who he is until later when they tell you who he is.
The whole time,
you're
I'm
fine.
literally just like, ooh, are we gonna get a Wesley Crusher? You know, like as soon as I hear Nick Locarno,
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, are we gonna see Wesley Crusher? How's this connected? And then, you know, that sort of stuff, right?
I thought it was, they do a lot of the like throwaway references, and I was like, oh, it's funny. Nick Locarno, they're gonna like bring back that guy from that one random Wesley Crusher episode. Cool.
Yeah.
And then goes on. They do quite a bit more than that.
But the wonderful thing is how self-aware they are, and apparently the producers of Star Trek Strange New Worlds are, about what this show is and how it behaves and the references, the style of references and stuff like that. Because do you remember how the characters in Strange New Worlds talk about Boimler and Mariner when they are discussing stuff? They're like, I think it's Una. Una's like, man, their references are like oddly specific, and they talk a lot.
Yeah, it's like they just
Spock-
like don't stop talking.
And Spock is just like, yes, it's really annoying.
Yeah, it's like you can't get them to shut up, right?
Yeah, like so they even know like this is the design of it. The references are literally like a language unto their own, and yet they can interact, right? They literally physically can interact with a show that isn't like that. So like that's a big statement, I think, about the Star Trek universe in general. Like it's
and it shows that they're that not just the Lower Decks. So I guess this the thing we're talking about is an episode of Strange New Worlds, right? It's not actually
I don't know
Decks
if people knew that. If you watched all of Lower Decks and you didn't know this, they're talking at the beginning. The Mariner makes a reference. She says, "Oh, there's that thing we can't talk about with Captain Pike." And you might laugh and say, "Oh, haha, I know who Pike is." But there was a crossover episode with Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which I thought was hilarious, where
and we could talk about that Strange New World season too. That was pretty good also.
I haven't finished it yet. So we made the mistake of watching this crossover episode, and now my spouse is like, I'd like to watch this. I said, oh, okay. I guess we'll catch up on it someday.
Yeah, I mean, there's only two
seasons. Yeah,
two
it's
seasons?
not that bad. We could probably work
catch
our way
up.
through it in a couple months. And it's good. I'd rewatch the first season. I haven't watched the second yet, so it's not that big a time
Man,
sink.
there's some good stuff in the second season, but
I mean,
some other time.
Yeah, this one was good. I mean, so Boimler and eventually Mariner, but mostly Boimler, get pulled through a like time portal thing.
I mean, also like though a very specific referential time portal thing, right? Isn't that time portal thing from the original series?
It probably is. I thought that the one that it probably is. I didn't catch that reference. If it was, I guess I could look it up, but I don't really need to. If it was, email us and we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, please. We don't do research on this podcast, so it's fine.
I mean, I try to for Star Trek enough beforehand, but you know, whatever. What was I talking? Oh, so Strange New Worlds, like, I loved that they started the show off in animation. They're like, here, you don't know what we're doing? We're just doing it, right? Like, if people watch Strange New Worlds and don't watch Lower Decks, they must have been very confused. I would hope there's crossover in these audiences, but you know, there may not be. Who knows? People look at, especially, I think Titmouse has a very distinctive style, and we've talked about how almost puts things off, from certain people. So, um, very cool though that Lower Decks designed its characters around the actors in a very general way. So Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome, yeah,
She's the voice actress, I believe,
of
Mariner.
Mariner, yeah, but they both get to act as their characters.
Oh yeah. They just took the voice actors and put them.
Yeah. So Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome just jump from animation where their voices to live action, which was really, really fun.
Yeah. And it is interesting in the show, how you can see them acting with each other and what their what their acting actually is. It's like a lot of them talking together, and not as much I don't want to like compare actors or whatever, but they're primarily voice actors these days. I don't know about Tawny Newsome's other work, but Jack Quaid doesn't do a lot of live action acting.
Jack Quaid's
he's a huge voice actor though.
But he's also the star of The Boys on Amazon.
Oh, is he in that show? I have not watched that show.
Yeah, he's one of the 2 leads on The Boys. Well, there's probably like 4 leads on The Boys now.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'm wrong.
He's one of the leads
respect.
on The Boys. Yeah. They're both relatively. I mean, Tawny was recently in Space Force, which got canceled, I guess, and then I think she's been on Brockmire, which is one of those like sitcom.
This is all right over my head. I don't know what any of that is.
Brockmire is like it's a comedy show. She's a comedy actress. Like all 99% of things she's in,
which I mean makes sense based on the character and the type of stuff she's doing, right?
Sure, yeah. Jack Quaid kind of bounces around, although even in The Boys, he's supposed to be the comic relief a little bit, not all the time, but some of the time. Yeah, so it's really awesome because I knew both. We know them, and I think a lot of people know them, and they know their faces, and you just see them pop up in live action instead of being replaced was awesome. And I think you're right to mention how they act in a way because they didn't change them for the show. Yeah. They're just like, do what you do and what your characters do. So like Una comes up to him and just like in the show, he just sprints down the hallway.
Yeah, he acts flustered and is like, and then runs away. Yeah.
Or like in the show, they just move to the side and start talking. And in
they're right there. They just step off to the side and then have a private conversation
that everyone can hear.
They can all hear. Spock is just like sitting there. He's like, "Hello."
Very smart, very, very smart, and very cool to just bring everything straight across and to start off a season of Lower Decks that way. Really, technically, right? And they gave him the purple hair, which later on in Lower Decks, they actually acknowledge finally that his hair is dyed. I don't know if you caught that. It's not naturally purple.
No, I didn't. But
okay. Yes, I can't remember which episode, but in one of the episode,
is it raining in one of the episodes? And you see
his hair is like black and purple. So pretty good.
Is that the one where he's like cranked out on TV in wherever that place is?
I think, on was it Ferenginar? Yeah, when they're on Ferenginar and he gets stuck watching TV. Ransom at the end. Don't fight, just go limp.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty good. So the show starts off with, I would call a throwback banger of an episode where they have to get the Voyager to Earth.
Yeah.
And, Boimler's freaking out because he's been told that he's on track for a promotion if he doesn't screw up. And then proceeds to just screw up constantly because he's too nervous.
Standard Boimler.
Yeah, until, he gets talked out of screwing up too much. weird to see how the cartoon handled Tuvix,
Yeah.
right? Where the show A Voyager really struggled with the idea of it. I think they paid homage to the idea that you can't separate these two that are now one. And then because it's a hilarious cartoon, they're just like, and now it's evil.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because the Voyager show like makes a whole big moral dilemma argument about it, and they cover that here, right? They sort of go through it like, oh, it's you can't undo it. This new life form has its own life or whatever. But they can't leave it like that, right?
Yeah, right.
And so then you get the like, oh, it also then turns evil.
Yeah. And you also have the virus or whatever, the macro virus trying to take over Voyager at the same time. Decently funny episode. Ransom
Felt
really
very much
shines
like-
finally.
Yes. Yeah, the getting to hear Boimler and Ransom, and that now that they're lieutenant junior grades or whatever.
Oh, yeah. So they all get promoted at the end of that one, right? Where they get the next half pip, basically.
Right. Yeah, half a pip. They're now they start getting more responsibilities, quote unquote, and so then you see them interacting with the bridge crew just a little more, right?
Yeah. Well, by the end of the season, I mean, a lot more. I like that they still acknowledge by the end of the season that the bridge crew does the thing the bridge crew does in every Star Trek show, where they just sort of abandon the ship.
They go off on away missions to
doing their own stuff and leave only junior grade officers on the main ship.
Yep.
So I think it was the last episode where Boimler is finally, we're jumping ahead, but he's on the bridge, right?
Right. They call him acting captain, right?
He is acting captain, and multiple times during the season they're at the helm and other stuff like that. And I like that. I've never seen anyone actually use the captain's yacht before. And then they cut to it, and it's literally the entire bridge crew, the normal bridge crew, like Shax and Ransom and
And they're doing the thing that every Star Trek show does, right? Which is put all the main characters on the away mission full of danger and, the risky rescue mission or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they all pile into the shuttle and fly away. And so Boimler ends up as the captain because he was the only, one of the few people that got left behind, right?
Pretty great, though. I got to practice my nice captain voice. Oh, yeah. I got to practice.
Yeah.
Ransom really liked it. Pretty good. The season second one was man, I can't remember by the titles. I remember the titles. I threw the titles down because I can remember most of them. But
here's the synopsis on their website.
Is that the one where they're in the cave with the goop? No, that's later in the season.
That might be. So this one is Mariner tries to get demoted, Rutherford tries to get promoted, and Boimler makes a move. That's what this synopsis says. And this is the one where Mariner is with Ransom and then doing all kinds of outlandish stuff to try to get in trouble.
Oh, that's the one where they're on the away mission with the random dude. Ransom and Mariner in her jogging suit go to the space station. And the little animal that sucks bones. Yeah, I have no bones. Yeah. Where what was it? Moopsy?
The evil, the most dangerous alien
bones
that exists is
and the
this
banana
cute little
dude.
Thing.
That was a fun one because it's in their own way, how is a menagerie okay? You have sentient life in here. And then Ransom's just like, no, we're just here for the humans. Like, we're going to put our head down and just say we only have...
Just a lot of like, just want to talk, just want to get the humans out, not going to focus on how all bad this is otherwise.
It's funny. I think people gloss over that it's a cartoon and it's just funny most of the time. But they make a statement in just a few sentences usually about something. And this one is not about Starfleet so much as it is about Star Trek, and saying like sometimes they just don't deal with the question, right? Like, is this place a place that really should exist now and in the future, right? And like, do we think that this is okay? And they gloss over it on purpose to be like, look, sometimes this is what they do. I think that's kind of fun. And Mariner just trying to get demoted was pretty funny. That was side thought. So then we were talking about Vexilon just a second ago. This is the one where Boimler won't give up any jobs, which is more of a, I think, standard you can't do it all kind of episode, right? Like back to more Star Trek-y tropes. Really one where, what's her name? The Vulcan, that's trying to become T'Lyn, I think. T'Lyn, I think, is her name. Where she's just, trying to become one of the people in the crew. Not the one where it really takes off because Betazoids come, which I think is a few episodes later, but one where you really start to see like she's integrating for a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. She wants to be involved, but really
not quite making friends, but trying to, be part of the crew a little more.
Yeah, which was kind of fun that she's not just a throwaway character, especially by the end of the season. You're like, oh, okay.
I was going to say, what did you think about her character arc? Kind of
love it,
such as it is.
I love the actually being logical might be more about relationships than it is about math, right? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes I think her character is more about making good decisions, making logical in their mind, right? Like Vulcan decisions isn't just being calculating and cold and detached and all these things and choosing the right thing. Sometimes it's more about being the right thing.
Yeah. And you can have, you can still have friends and then still be able to be logical, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is more than the crossover episode, which deals with Spock's manic smiling thing, which I thought was hilarious because they literally just call out how ridiculous that like line of character development from Strange New Worlds has been, mm-hmm. right? And how different it is from Spock's main character. They're like freaking out about it. T'Lyn isn't doing that, right? She's not following that path of connecting with people, but she's also not following the like, I'm fighting my nature violently, like T'Pol. It's a mental thing.
And there's definitely Spock gets to have liberties because he's the half human, half Vulcan, right?
Where
T'Lyn is not, and T'Pol wasn't either, right?
No, T'Pol wasn't either. And so they really broke down on T'Pol's character and used physical things like that one syndrome she had that T'Lyn even talks about during the Betazoid episode. So they gave her a lot of leeway by like giving her physical problems, like, oh, she's infected with a virus. Oh, she's got this condition. Oh, this, oh, that.
Right.
To give her more human characteristics. So really, what is this? You got Sarek, who married a human, who mm-hmm. was developed in TNG a little bit. You've got Spock, who's been developed forever, and you got T'Pol. Is T'Lyn really? Tuvok
from Voyager, right? Was there a Vulcan in DS9?
Not that I remember. Odo was kind of the only Vulcan style character, right?
Yeah, he's definitely in that same vein of character, following the rules and the logic and whatnot.
Data from TNG.
Right.
So Tuvok, I don't remember his character's arc well enough to say that there was much of an arc for Tuvok.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't change a ton throughout the course of the show. It was always like he and Janeway were like confidants and, old friends or whatever. But I don't remember Tuvok getting like a big arc over the course of that show.
I mean, I remember he was basically like designed as a stalwart already. Like,
yeah,
he had a wife and kids or something like that. So, and he was older than everyone on the crew, I remember.
Right. Yeah, that was also true.
So it required, again, outside forces like T'Pol, right? Where it was like, if something's going to change for Tuvok or happen to Tuvok, like Tuvix, right? Tuvix is an outside force, and it's not even Tuvok doing anything there. So, I would say T'Lyn is our next interesting development in the how do Vulcans eventually kind of integrate with humans.
Yeah.
And how does that go?
And I think it was good. You definitely get the sense. I don't remember, was it the end of last Lower Deck season or this, where she gets, banished, basically?
That was the end of last
happen
season. It was the end of last season after the Pac-Led fight, because she, didn't follow logic, and therefore
she like acted on a hunch or something, right?
Yeah. She tried to say that intuition is logical, right? Because intuition is your sub reasoning telling you that something is not included in your math, right? That's her understanding of intuition is like, my personal understanding of a situation isn't complete, but I know something's missing, right? So
right, and then that's when she gets sent to Starfleet.
She gets punished by being sent to Starfleet, and then she sees it as a punishment until midway through this season, right? Where things, I think, on Orion really change for her.
Yeah, definitely.
Before
Talking
then,
about Orion is a natural segue, though.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Talk about Tendi this season.
It's season 4. It's episode 4, right? Where
is it? Oh yeah, great.
Yeah, so Vexilon was not really anything crazy. So episode 4, Orion, Tendi is summoned back, and we get like Orion Society developed for the first time ever through Tendi returning for a wedding where her sister was kidnapped, quote unquote, and Mariner and T'Lyn going with her as representatives of Starfleet. And T'Lyn catalogs the entire. She's got a data pad in her hand every second of the show,
typing notes.
Every second of the show, she's got a data pad in her hand, just observing society. Tendi is self-conscious the entire time she's there because she hasn't told anyone about some parts of her past. And you find out, she's from the crime syndicate family. She's basically like supposed to have taken over the planet.
Not just the crime. She was like the heir to the crime syndicate family.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, her sister ends up the heir and joining two families from together. And it's a good episode of like, what are your responsibilities versus your desires? And if you really want to do something, it's not just on you, right? Like there are other people that are factored into your decisions. And even if you make an assumption that is correct about someone's desires, behavior, wants, and abilities, that doesn't mean they're not participants in it, right?
Some of my favorite stuff in Lower Decks is the like dumb little non-jokes that they have for a lot of the names of the Orions. Tendi's name it's Devana Tendi, and you're like, oh, okay, that's like a Star Trek-y kind of name, whatever. But her sister is D'Erica.
I love like later on in the show, I think it's episode 9, where Rutherford says, D'Erica asks about something. Can't you do something? And Rutherford says, no can do, Tendi too. And it was like,
Yeah. He calls her Tendy too a few times.
Well, I mean, their last name is Tendy, so it
No,
works
I know.
really well.
I
But
get why he's doing it. It's just
it's
funny. But
so funny. Yeah, and what's her dad's name is like Buert.
yes, and I think like later when when they have in the last episode when they have the like face off in the arena or whatever,
Uh-huh.
the one of the guards she picks is Eth.
Bueth,
It's
yes.
just
Yeah.
It's just Beth.
Bueth. Yeah. What's her grandmother's name? Because she's her grandmother comes up in that crossover episode. Because she's the one that quote unquote discovers
I don't remember.
discovers the time portal, because the trade with the Orions is that that if you let us have the stuff we need to run the thing or whatever. Astria Tendi, I think, is her name.
Okay. Not as funny.
Not a funny name, but yeah.
Buert.
Buert. I laughed out loud when you said his name was Buert.
Yeah. One of the good funny running jokes of that show were relation to the Orion.
Yeah, Devana sounds like she belongs on the bridge with the TNG crew, right?
Yeah, it's just a name of a space name, she just has a space name.
And I mean, her mom's name is normal. It's just Shauna Tendi, right?
Right.
But
and then Erica and Bart.
Buert. Oh man, pretty good. And then at the end of this one, like through all the character development for Tendi, you actually have T'Lyn in the background, kind of just realizing what it really means to be family and friends with people, watching Mariner just do whatever she can to help Tendi the whole episode, including getting stabbed 3 times in the same spot.
Yeah, just like, really.
And so she throws that data pad away, which is great lead in for her just being like, okay, I am involved in this crew. And then episode 5 is really half about her as well, right? Like, so we get like intro in episode 3, thesis in episode 4, episode 5, verdict, right? What does it really mean? And so she starts off the episode wanting to like get a hold of her captain, but there's a communications blackout because they're transporting betazoids who end up being Betazoid Secret Service.
This is what I wanted to talk about. Like, that is just so, I love the stupid stuff they come up with.
Very
It's
Betazoid, very Lower Decks, to be like, who's the most ridiculous race to have like a Secret Service branch? Betazoids. Yeah.
And I love how they're like, again, once it's like playing on the deep knowledge of Star Trek fans, right? Being like, okay, everyone's reference for Betazoids is Deanna Troi and Lwaxana Troi.
Yeah, Lwaxana Troi.
And so we're gonna take Lwaxana Troi and make all these people look like drunk Karens. It's just like, like drunk older women constantly flirting, constantly drinking, constantly partying, and then it's all a front for the Secret Service. The entire premise of that show, this episode really made me laugh.
Yeah, so the crew kind of goes crazy because the Betazoids transfer T'Lyn's inner turmoil to the entire ship.
Right, they're amplifying people's emotions, and the T'Lyn having all these like inner conflicts that turn out to be really strong are causing all these conflicts everywhere else.
Yeah. So her inner conflict is that she really wants to send reports to her captain and get off this ship, and by the end of it, she doesn't anymore. Right, like people sticking up for people stuck up. She stuck up for Boimler while Boimler was sticking up for his crew. In the first one, she watched Boimler stick up for Tendi, and then other people stick up for her this time, and so this is really good development. 3-episode arc for one character, really good to integrate them into the ship.
Everyone, I feel like almost all the characters get a few little episodes here and there, but it was nice in this season to see T'Lyn's stuff sort of all back to back to back, so you could get her whole arc kind of in a row. Yeah. Whereas I feel like Tendi's arc sort of starts in whichever that episode is with the marriage, but then doesn't really come out until the end of the show, right?
Yeah, she gets peppered in throughout the season, much like the the overarching like who's the mystery ship, right? At the beginning of each episode, a ship is attacking other ships, and there's like little hints that that there's something going on, and we gotta oh man.
Once again, Star Trek just can't leave alone the like potential for weird universe unifying problems. It
Mhm.
doesn't turn out to be quite that bad since the Cerritos is on it and they don't send someone important, right?
Eh, yep.
But it
Uh,
is they do have a little connective tissue there with the weird stuff.
Speaking of the Cerritos not doing anything important, they get sent to Ferenginar to waste time.
Oh man, this was such a funny idea because again, it's one of those things where like Star Trek fans know about Ferengi. They watch DS9. You know about
Is this
Quark.
the
You know
first
about Rom.
DS9 crossover?
It might be. It definitely. I mean, it definitely is because they're making the jokes about the when they fly in and the shot and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know if they've not done it before. Because the very first episodes of DS9 had some people from TNG on it, right?
Yeah, but
But I think that was it.
I think it was just like this is the first time that they really brought through like they've had a lot of Voyager stuff, right? A lot. Like Tom Paris has been on the ship. They talk about
Yep.
Voyager all the time. But this one was the first one. It was like, hey, look, it's Rom. Like,
It-
hey,
yeah.
look, it's
Yeah.
Lita. Remember Rom's Grand Nagus? And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I forgot that entirely. That by the end of that show, Rom is now Grand Nagus of all Ferenginar.
It is funny that I did forget that. And then when we got there, I was like, oh, wait, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
pretty good.
He and Lita, I forgot that he became Grand Negus at the end of that.
Pretty good. This it's just I mean it's one of those throwaways where they develop a little bit of character for some of the main characters while they do stuff. Like Mariner goes crazy while getting drunk. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but really it's a Captain Freeman style reference episode. So it was kind of one of those like this was cute, but not really anything deep.
It is definitely very much a like standard Lower Decks episode where they're like, here's an alien race that Star Trek has created. We're
Yeah.
going to go visit their home planet because it has to be weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think it's
they
like
get to do stuff that they would never do on the real show.
I think there's like 2 or 3 each season that are just like kind of a little bit standalone-y, and they have character development in them, like old TNG episodes did. Like I think the cave one is the same, where they do the flashbacks and stuff. And those are great, but they're kind of just like little vignette type shows, which is good.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's great. I don't want to be like downplaying these kinds of episodes because I really
Yeah.
enjoy them, and
Yeah.
I think it is part of what makes this show work. That you get these kind of very light, important for it to be light, overarching details between the episodes,
Yeah.
and maybe you get the culmination at the end or whatever.
Yeah.
But these little episodes where they just like go have dumb adventures are important and fun to the narrative. Like I like that the fact that sometimes they just go have an adventure. That's the thing. Like
Yeah.
you can just be like that. That's okay. Or they just all get sent on weird missions and Boimler goes crazy watching Ferengi TV.
The next one sets up stuff and brings back a favorite character, which was BaDgey. I don't know
Man.
how BaDgey got back, other than, I mean, they explain it in the show, but I don't know how they convinced people that BaDgey should have more time.
Right. I get the feeling that BaDgey is one of the characters that got popular from this show somehow.
Yeah.
And the writers were like, well, we got to have more BaDgey. Everyone loves BaDgey, right? And
There's
it's like,
a
you didn't ask me in the poll. I would have said no.
there's a BaDgey Delta, like all the others. You
Sure
can get
there
BaDgey
is.
as a Delta. Although I would prefer to have a Guji Delta.
They have Gucci shows up again later. Is still around on the ship.
Guji's still around, so maybe we can get a Guji Delta. Oh boy. Yeah. That one's the one where they have all 3 like super computers trying to like trick them again, and Boimler's like, okay, here we go. Oh, you're really tricking me.
I love how like nonchalant he is, and he's like, "Oh no, we're being kidnapped at the behest of these supercomputers. I'm falling under your spell. Definitely doing
Yeah. Yeah.
it."
Or they take over that planet, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we took over this planet so fast. Starfleet can't reverse this in a day."
Yeah, exactly. And also, I want to make call out the inspired writing choice of BaDgey, and you're like, "Oh, BaDgey is a badge. That makes sense."
Yeah.
But then someone was like, "But he's also bad."
Yeah.
G. And
Yeah.
then when he
Good
splits, you have
G.
good G.
And
That
logic
is like,
E.
yeah, that is like chef's kiss, so dumb and perfect.
I couldn't believe his name was Gucci. I was like,
Good G. When they said it, I almost stopped the show. I was like, no, you did not.
and then Logic E gets murdered by Benji.
Yeah, didn't want to hear any of it.
Oh man, pretty good. Sets up the end of the season with the info about the ships not being destroyed but being kidnapped. So that's good. And then you get the throwaway one where they redevelop their relationship in the caves. You get some funny stories about how they were cave episodes that we didn't see.
Yes, they're like, oh, it's another cave episode. And you're like,
And
wait,
you're like,
what?
what do you mean another cave episode? Oh wait, actually the characters have been going in caves all season. We just haven't seen it.
Right.
Yeah, pretty good. And then you get the two-parter.
The two-parter.
The finale where Mariner, they go on a mission to try and stay away from trouble and end up in trouble.
They send, because they think
Mariner's been on a self-destructive streak.
Right. So they try to send her on a mission where she can't get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. And they end up in the mouth of Nick Locarno.
The worst possible place.
Yeah. Who has been kidnapping ships, convincing lower deckers to mutiny, and building his own fleet because he's so slowly, I guess, gone insane and thinks he's made a new Nova Squadron. And you find out that Mariner knew them when they were at the Academy, Nova Squadron.
Yeah. So again, this is one of those things where it's like, this is the dumb kind of stuff that would only happen on this show.
Yeah.
Because of course they take a reference, right? The weird Nova Squadron, banned flight maneuver Wesley Crusher episode of TNG, right? They take that reference and they're like, we're going to base an entire season around a dumb thing related to this.
And they know how dumb it is because literally in episode 10, multiple times they're like, doesn't he look exactly like Tom Paris?
Kind of.
Well,
was it the same actor?
It's the same actor in live action. That's the joke. Yeah.
Okay. That was going to be I didn't know that, but I just assumed that it was because it does look exactly like him.
Yeah. No, it's the same actor in live action. Robert McNeil. I don't know why. Yeah, okay. It is Robert McNeil.
All right. Yeah. But yeah, the absurdity of the idea that then this guy gets kicked out of Starfleet for, doing this thing and then has a chip on his shoulder about it for the rest of his entire life. And like 40 years later or whatever is like trying to take over the, hold the entire galaxy hostage or something. I don't.
Yeah, with a Genesis.
Not really clear what his plan was.
It didn't that's feel the thing, right? It didn't seem like he had a great plan. Honestly, like when I saw this versus the last couple of season finales, other than Tendi going back to Orion and them saying like, okay, so like T'Lyn has taken over her spot in the crew. This felt like one of those seasons where like, I'm not sure if we'll get renewed.
So I do wonder, the only thing that you get a like smile and like a like all according to plan or something from Tendi at the very, very end.
Yeah.
Which is the only sort of dangling like, oh, is there something else going on here thread?
Yeah.
So I do wonder, I don't know what the state of the show is.
They've been renewed. They were renewed and finished writing season. They're already working on season 5. So I just felt like the end was like, okay, well, if Tendi goes off and doesn't, people can imagine what happens if we don't get renewed or whatever. But
I do wonder what their plans are with Tindy. Is this actually them writing her off the show? It doesn't seem like it,
no,
but maybe it's that's the next plot for next season or something.
I don't get the feeling that she's been written off. I don't know that, obviously, but it has a feeling of open-endedness that wouldn't, in my book, throw them away.
So we got to talk about another couple. Yeah. We got to talk about a couple other dumb things in this last two-parter, though.
Yeah. I have one thing I really loved in it, too. So we'll talk.
Okay. Oh, no, I say they're dumb, but like dumb with love. I love this whole show. This whole season has been great. I don't have any, nothing I want to actually say that I dislike about it. I mean, there are little nitpicks here or there, but like not important. The stuff that I say is dumb is like, I am happy they're doing dumb things like this. It's good that exists, right?
Sure.
Where do they get the Genesis device? I know they steal it from the Ferengi. Was it earlier in the season that we saw them do that?
It was on the Ferengi ship that got stolen. They are talk about it, and then that little white ship shows up.
Then it steals them. Okay. Yeah.
Also, the Ferengi must have stolen it as well before that, right? Because they just added on a front plate.
Yeah, with like the weird interface and the paywall.
Yeah, yeah. Very good.
Yeah. I love that they brought back the Genesis device for no reason.
Also,
that is definitely what
you're talking about. Something I was literally going to say here, which was I loved that they not only brought it back, but that they brought it back with themes from Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they have the cloud chase, like the end of Wrath of Khan. She's got the ship in a ship that looks very much like the Reliant. She's alone. He's alone. They're chasing each other through the cloud and talking
through the clouds.
Just like the end of Wrath of Khan. When they bust through when they use the Orion battleship to bust through the shield, the music sting from under there is the music from Wrath of Khan.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That's very funny.
Yes. I recognized it instantly. I was like, no way. They did a music sting. And then it came back as they shoot through the thing, and they did it another time. You'd recognize it if you did it. It's James Horner's like very, very recognizable Star Trek.
I mean, I'm sure it must be in the credits then, right? Like they can't use that music without. Yeah. Although maybe they are because they're in the license.
There's
it's okay.
CBS, so it's all owned by the same. Maybe I don't know. It was there, and I got very nostalgic halfway through the episode about like I really need to go back and watch like Wrath of Khan, and have the kids watch more Star Trek. We watched Trouble with Tribbles, and like they loved it. So maybe I can get them to watch other episodes.
Trouble with Tribbles is pretty good. So
yeah.
Maybe they're not ready for what's the other one? The Deep Space Nine one?
Oh,
forget the name of that one.
Yeah. What was the other stuff you were talking about?
So the Genesis device coming back and like all the Wrath of Khan stuff is like one of the like great
trials
parts
and tribulations.
Of the show. Yeah. The bringing back the Binars.
We didn't even talk about the other the other race of like squid people. I can't even remember their name. The one that's always been like a joke in the show, like the real show.
Mm-hmm.
They show up twice in this season.
Are they the ones that have to like breathe the air stuff? Is that what we're talking about?
No, the ones that like are they look like rocks, but they're there in the goo episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those, again, one of those weird things where it's like they show up randomly and you're like, why?
Yeah. Yeah, the Binars. And they still don't. Mariner can understand them, but we still don't get subtitles, which is great.
Nope. No idea what they're up to. And then you can see it like at the very end when it's all falling apart for Locarno. The Binars are just like, they just all three of them just look at each other and they just teleport away. It's like, you know what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. What was the What was the stuff about the end you wanted to talk
Oh,
about?
that was that the ending
The
was
con stuff?
very, very just like, okay, we're doing Wrath of Khan now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you have the Genesis device, you got to do con stuff, right? I mean, it makes perfect
but they
sense.
didn't have to, right? They didn't have to. They could have just let it be a reference for people that knew what a Genesis device was. They didn't have to
Sure.
then be like, okay, so then we're gonna go through the cloud, just like in Wrath of Khan. Then we're gonna do the like screen thing where they're talking to each other, and then we're gonna end it a different way. But oh, here's the music sting, and like like none of that had to happen. It
And
could
they
have.
don't have to do the thing where they still try to save him at the end, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Very good show. And happy to be talking subspace transmissions again with you, my man.
Yeah.
I think we need to do more of these in a. I think one of the problems is that watching shows now, I think we talked about it. We're going to bookend here. We're going to bookend. We talked about it at the beginning. Watching these shows now comes in chunks for me, right? Like once they're up, all up, then I watch them in chunks. So it's hard to like do them as the season goes on like we used to.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we need to go back to the old format of pick a
Which
random
is
thing.
maybe. Maybe.
I saw and I have in my possession, and I suggest it to you as an option to get people excited for the next subspace transmission. On the shelf at the library was a brand new copy of Physics of Star Trek, so I grabbed it.
Oh, cool.
So maybe that's what we should do next.
Is that a book?
It is a book, yeah.
Okay. Have a little reading. That would be fun.
Little read, little subspace transmission in a month or two. We'll see. It's been a hard year for getting this done. I think it's just hard to have extra time this year for a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people about it. It's been a busy one. So thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for listening to another subspace transmission. Go watch Lower Decks.
Yeah, go watch Lower Decks. I will say that unfortunately, due to the way studios and streaming numbers and stuff seem to work, they really, really care about people watching stuff right when it comes out, which is really unfortunate for us personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, people should go watch Lower Decks. That stuff is really good. And hey, check out Strange New Worlds too. We like that quite a bit.
They have to know their numbers are literally just Star Trek based, right? Like I resubscribed after letting Paramount lapse midway through the year. I resubscribed and immediately only watched Lower Decks.
Yeah, I mean, look,
That has to come out.
They got
in
all the numbers
somewhere.
behind there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of other stuff on that thing, but I don't. God knows what other stuff anyone watches on it.
Paw Patrol.
Maybe, I don't know. That would be
Nickelodeon's
you.
on
Are
there
you
as
watching
well.
Paw Patrol?
I mean, I it's been on the TV, is what I'm saying. I mean, they own Nickelodeon, so that can't be the last sentence of this podcast. They own Nickelodeon.
I mean,
I gotta send you a picture of these
it-
deltas, my man. These are really cool looking.
okay, well, yeah, I would love to see it, and
Yeah.
I think that it's a cool thing, especially since it's cool to watch the evolution of them over time, and also how are you going to arrange them? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to work on that. If you have suggestions on how I should arrange them,
Yeah, folks can send that to podcast@weweregamers.com. Podcast@weweregamers.com. That's our email address. And let us know that you have, opinions about the badge deltas. We definitely are interested in that.
Awesome.
And we're on social media @weweregamers and YouTube, youtube.com/@weweregamers. Check us out, all those places.
welcome back, Subspace Transmissions. I messed that up. I was trying to say welcome back, Subspace Transmissions, and my words got all jumbled up. Oh well.